Welcome to the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast with Vicki Noethling. You are about to discover impactful lessons that help you grow as an individual, grow your confidence, and find the positive and good within you, so you powerfully and authentically become the best version of yourself. Be sure you visit our website at www.findyourleadershipconfidence.com. While you're there, subscribe to us via your favorite network. Now tune in, get ready, and enjoy the journey of emerging as a leader of exception in the 21st century.
Welcome, everyone, to the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast. I'm your host, Vicki Noethling, coming to you from Roswell, Georgia. The goal of this podcast is to bring topics and guests that will empower you to become that confident leader and take your business and your life to the next level. Today, I am very excited to bring to you Mitch Carson, and let me tell you about Mitch. He has mentored CEOs, speakers, authors, consultants, coaches with a purpose to share their message and business objective on an international level. Some notable clients include Mark Victor Hansen, who was the author of Chicken Soup for the Soul, selling 500 million with a B books. Chris Okazaki, and I'm sorry if I said that wrong, who is the Tony Robbins of Japan. So Chris Okazaki.
Perfect.
Dan Kennedy, author of 30 plus books, everyone should know Dan, and has shared the stage with none other than Sir Richard Branson, Donald Trump, Lord Sugar, Vishen Lukhani, Zig Ziglar, Chin Tan, Suri Sparks, 2 prime ministers, and 3 members of the royal family from Malaysia, Bahrain, and Oman. Today, we are going to find out how Mitch guarantees network TV interviews to speakers, authors, and podcast hosts. If you are interested in finding out how to get booked on major media guaranteed, you want to stay tuned. Today, again, please join me in welcoming my guest, Mitch Carson. Mitch, so happy to have you on.
Well, it's my privilege to be here, Vicki. Thank you so much. And I loved our pre-call conversation and lead up and how you're very ingratiating. And that truly is that Roswell, Georgia charm. You Southern ladies know how to ring that bell.
Oh, so sweet. It's interesting. I have lived in Roswell now longer than I lived in my hometown of Pittsburgh. So,
okay. Well, you've absorbed the charm component.
Thanks so much. So we always start with really 2 easy questions to have us get to know you a little bit better. And that first one is just to tell everybody, where do you call home? Where do you live right now?
I now reside in Las Vegas, Nevada, because this is the entertainment capital of the world. And this is where I conduct my business, where I get people on guaranteed network television. And my home for most of my life was Los Angeles, good old LA, where I wouldn't live today because it's a different city. But I've lived in 7 countries, Vicki. I've lived in Colombia, Peru, the Dominican Republic, Thailand for a bulk of my life outside of the U.S. I lived in Manila for a year and Bali for 8 months. So I've experienced the world and have spoken in 63 countries. So I've lived a good, solid life and exposed to multiple cultures. And I think the exposure to cultures has made me 1,000 times more intelligent than I would if I read 1,000 books.
I agree. If I didn't have these 2 great grandboys,
you'd be out there traveling.
I would be out there traveling a whole lot more, because I agree. The more you immerse yourself in these different cultures, one, you get a different perspective of life, but it also sometimes makes me appreciate what I have also.
Oh my gosh. We've got such a fortunate existence here.
Yes.
And I think the statistic was alarming, Vicki, where 70% of the American population doesn't have a passport or hasn't traveled outside of the U.S. Like, oh my word. No wonder it's thinking we're programmed from an early age, indoctrinated with the way of thinking in the US, and it didn't ring true for me until I lived abroad. Then I look back and I don't regret, and I'm a super proud patriot American, 100%, more so now than ever before I left. Yet I realize the reason we have the bias towards us is justified. And that's a whole different conversation, I'm sure.
That is definitely. So I gave really all these accolades, and people are like, oh, I have to get to know Mitch. Look at all the people he's talked to and met. And could probably have a whole nother podcast just on stories of some of those conversations you've had with them. But I'd love for you to share a bit of your journey that really led you to do what you do today.
Yeah, I started out as background brief, only child, grew up in Los Angeles, as I mentioned. And my parents, I was attending University of Southern California, which is a nice school in LA. And then my parents died 5 weeks apart, bang, bang. I was 22 and they were my father, I refer to as my stepfather, but he was really the influence in my life, not my biological one. He died 5 weeks later. My mother died. They were 49 and 45 years old, respectively. And I was abandoned emotionally, I think, and literally, not their choice. Yeah, I mean, things happen. It's just life. And it's, and again, is a whole nother conversation, different podcast possibly. But I went in on a huge downward spiral of drugs and alcohol until I decided that I didn't want to die, because that was a suicidal, either conscious or subconscious path. I chose to redirect my path to live. And from July 1st, 1984, I haven't had a drink or a drug since. So I've just celebrated 40 years of continuous drug-free existence. That means alcohol and anything that goes up my nose and other places. All of that stopped 4 decades ago. And that changed my trajectory in life from one of self-destruction into production of helping myself first, because you got to put the mask on your face first when there's air turbulence. And if we're possibly going down, you got to put that mask on yourself in life. It's a great metaphor of using the airplane, because you can't put it on your kid or anyone else until your oxygen and breathing is secure. So I had to take care of myself first and be selfish for a little bit until I then was granted the privilege of helping other people. And that's one of the greatest gifts of being a human. And now being a bona fide senior citizen and a member of the AARP, American Association of Retired People Who's Still Working, not retired. That's a misnomer, that acronym, is I'm here working harder than ever, and I'm loving it. And I have the privilege of being of service to others, and I have the privilege of continuing to help myself. And I'd say it's been a really good life. And when I got into the world of helping other people, everything changed. I deleted everybody that was negative in my life, anybody that dragged me down, they were there when I was in that negative state. And that's just a great a lesson for life. If you change your environment, your outcomes will change greatly. They will run in tandem to your outcomes when you change who you're exposed to. And I do believe we are products of our environment. I remember reading about that in sociology and in college, and it's so appropriate. It's applicable. And when I feel negativity, or I feel that someone makes a snide comment about my success, or really presses on a failure, which is a matter of perspective. I think it's a learning experience. You can reclassify failures as learning experience until you do succeed and achieve your goal. I just move on from that person today. There is no time, and that includes any extended family. There were people that I had to let go of in my life to get to where I am today. And that continues. You have to continue to prune people and prune actions in your life in order to keep your leaves green.
Yeah, so true. Darren Hardy is somebody I listen to every day, and he says, sometimes you have to look at who's invited to your table and make changes.
Yep. You got to make change. You got to update, change the
Yeah.
silverware. Who are you
Yeah,
eating with?
that's
Clean it
right.
up. And it's becoming clearer as I add more age. As I mentioned yesterday was my natal birthday, and I reflected on, okay, what did I learn this last year? And
Yeah.
I think I've been on the right path of keeping in my lane of productivity and positivity. And the other thing that happened while I was in this process of helping other people, I had to speak and I had to get outside of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
And being a speaker was never something I planned on, didn't dream about, didn't want. I was very shy. I was social when I had to be, but that was accompanied by liquid courage and some of the other things that I did in
Right.
order to be social, because without being stripped of all of those outside boosters, I liked being alone. I still have a piece of that reclusivity in me, and I'm on a podcast. I'm in the room alone in my studio here with my Shure microphone, and I'm doing what you're doing. It's one-to-one, which is nice. So it took a while to get comfortable being around people and being public. And then I had the opportunity to speak at a small meeting, and somebody was in the crowd and said, "I like how you delivered your message. What do you do professionally?" And I said, "I own a small boutique advertising agency in Los Angeles, and I focus on the area of direct mail. That's my expertise, unique mailings inside the direct mail category." And I ended up writing a book on it called The Silent Salesman, MEN. And prior to that, he hired me to come and speak at an event he was hosting in Burbank, California. In Seattle, Washington. I flew out of Burbank, California. He sent me a business class ticket and paid me $500. And that
Yay.
was like, yeah, I didn't know I could make money as a speaker. That wasn't even in my thought process. It wasn't a dream, had nothing. It wasn't in my world. So a lot of people aspire to be speakers. That wasn't one of my aspirations. Not at all. It
Yeah.
happened. It got thrown in front of me, and it was an opportunity. And I realized, wow, that particular day, I spoke to this lunch and learn group up in Seattle, business class ticket, 5-star hotel, beautiful room where I spoke to this client base of his. He was a mortgage broker, and there were people in his network. And I came and sold $65,000 of advertising services that I didn't even ask for. It just happened. I got all these clients, and I realized, wow, the world has just opened up, Vicki. It's one-to-many selling.
Yeah.
One-to-many. That changed my perspective, because what we're doing is one-to-many selling, because we're talking back and forth. You're interviewing me. I'm interviewing you. We're talking, getting to know each other, and there are people that are listening and vicariously learning through our conversation.
Absolutely.
That's one-to-many selling in a different manner, different platform. People say, well, podcasts aren't, they're great because people are listening as they want on their own time, going through their ear, the most trusted source of learning, because our mothers talk to us in our ears. And it's trusted. It's trusted. And that's why it's so valuable. And thank you for having me here today. And that segue of going from, because a lot of before and after we learn in marketing, it's fat to fit, unhealthy to healthy, pimples to a clean face. All of this is part of marketing, from being completely shy and reserved and introverted to becoming exposed, extroverted, gregarious, and one-to-many selling is part of my background of going from drug addict, alcoholic, to clean and sober and helping other people. These contrasts in life are what propel us to move forward. And everybody's got a story. When people write books also, there's oftentimes a story. I know that some of the most prolific authors were suicidal at one time.
Yeah.
and they turned their lives around. We're in states of X and they wanted Y, and maybe writing was a vehicle in order to feel better about themselves because they got to help other people. That I have found as a common denominator of successful people is they have either a hidden or a real objective of helping other people.
Mm-hmm.
It's paying it forward, I guess is the current term.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so that's shortly my story of how I got into the world of professional speaking. And then from there, for 30 plus years as a paid professional, one who's traveled the world to 63 countries, selling from the stage, I then got into event production. I produced over 2,000 events worldwide in, I think, about 17, 18 countries. So I have to go back and check where I've produced events. And I've had the good opportunity, the great exposure to all of these world-renowned speakers, authors, and thought leaders that I would have never had if I didn't embrace the pain and let's just say the difficulty of breaking through that barrier of shyness, introversion, and fear. Because breaking through and managing that fear, which is face everything and rise, that's the acronym I've created for fear. Face everything and rise. Push through that fear. It might be uncomfortable, but you have to get to the level of comfort. So that's before and after.
Such a good story. Good advice too. Absolutely. So when we talk about that, how do we get people to know, like, and trust us? Which social media sites are essential to be well branded?
All right. In my opinion, and I think this varies a little bit based on the demographic and or age, I'm a baby boomer. We talked about that beforehand. I was born in that era between 46 and 64, I think is the cohort that we refer to as boomers. For me and for my clients to be taken seriously, I think two platforms are essential. Number one, LinkedIn, by far number one for me.
Absolutely.
My clients exist on LinkedIn, and in order to verify me and see who I am, might even now switch over because LinkedIn is embracing video a lot, is YouTube.
Yeah.
Those two. I think it's a scary visual, and people would accuse me of losing my mind if I were on TikTok shaking my body. Okay, my booty is not so sexy. You don't want to see me in Speedos dancing on camera. All right, it's not a good visual. I don't have a six pack. Probably not good for me. Probably not my client base, because my client base is largely comprised of speakers, authors, and I don't think I would encourage any clients who are speakers or authors or CEOs to dance in a naked state or near naked state and show it on TikTok. And I know that's a generalization about the platform. I understand some people who are even over the age of 25 are able to make money with this. I just don't know if my age group or demographic is going to take me seriously if I'm on TikTok, nor will they take my clients seriously. So Instagram is good. Facebook is good. And again, depends on where your clients exist. You've got to have the right message to the right market, and they've got to be in the right state of mind to buy.
Yeah.
That's what works.
I think with TikTok and Twitter or X, those you don't have to dance, but you have to have a message that's short and compelling. And
Correct.
so for a lot of the folks that I coach in public speaking, it's like, can you get your message down to a minute or two? And sometimes that's a big challenge for people, but it just has to be to stop the scrolling, and so it may be that you start your message with a catchy phrase, remark, picture, whatever, but it just has to be short. Yeah, a hook. But I'm like you, most of my time is spent on the LinkedIn and YouTube, because that's where I can give richer information and not be so time bound to cut you off in 1 to 2 minutes.
Well, I do have Instagram. I hired
I do
somebody to
too.
help me create the shorts. And have I turned any of that into business? No. Is it good exposure? Probably for legitimization and credibility. I think it's possibly a necessary. I don't do much on X, the old Twitter now. And it depends on the audience. If you're
It
25
does.
and listening to this podcast, you absolutely may consider
Yeah.
Instagram as a heavy favorite, as well
Mm-hmm.
as TikTok might be necessary.
Mm-hmm.
LinkedIn is for professionals. It's
Yeah.
one shot. There are no shaking butt videos. It's about professionalism, making
Mm-hmm.
sure that all of your spelling is correct, your grammar is correct, you complete your profile, you fill it out. All of these are important boxes to check to be complete, I believe.
So, what are some of the best strategies for getting featured in major media outlets? Do you
Believe it
need
or
to
not,
write articles and
yeah, it depends on the the market. And I'll use a general. Let's say I were to market you. If you came to me, I'll just use you as an example, then I'll talk about another person. But for you, I would say it would start with, if you have a blank slate, if you have nothing up in major publications, the way to possibly start, here's one angle, is, and these can work in tandem, they're not necessarily unique rabbit holes to go down,
mm-hmm.
is I would write articles and content, publish it on LinkedIn first,
Mm-hmm.
and have it, and make sure it's well written. It's about 700 words to 1,000 words. It's published there, and maybe have some videos uploaded, have a strong YouTube channel. That's again a whole nother podcast, what to do strategically on YouTube. It's to educate. Then I would say get on television, because that's where your audience, based on our respective our age group, well, it's not
Mm-hmm.
respective, our age group of people, our demographic respects television the most.
Right.
Hundreds of millions of dollars in branding has gone into creating NBC, CBS, ABC, the CW, Fox, CNN, regardless of political affiliations. I'm not going there, but those networks are the biggest in the world. They
Yeah.
are so well branded. And if you can piggyback on their branding and their exposure, their credibility, you're on your way. A lot
Yeah.
more than an individual with his or her LinkedIn profile. There's more to it. And it's a strategy. So I would jump on television, because here's what television will do for you, Vicki, if I were to consult you directly. You're on these networks. You've got these interviews to prove the logos are legitimate, as opposed to submitting a press release and saying, hey, I was covered on CBS. No, you weren't, bozo. You just submitted a press release. Here's real TV footage to back it up. Always tell the truth. Be credible. People are looking for ways not to buy from you. Don't give them one. Show real information, real credibility. It's a lot easier than you think, but you have to tick the boxes correctly. So I would then say, get on television, start with LinkedIn, get some content up. Then you have TV. Then I would submit articles if you are a little bit scared about the bigger publications like Forbes, Entrepreneur, Fast Company, whatever your niche, big publications, credible publications, Huffington Press. Before you get into those categories, they're going to ask you for writing samples. As a publicist, I know the game. They're going to ask you for writing samples, and they're going to look very, very quickly at a snapshot of you. We refer to that in the podcast industry or TV industry as your one sheet, and speaking industry. What is on your one sheet? It used to be called a media kit in the past when I started out as a speaker. No longer necessary. At the initial, they don't have time to look at all of this and your testimonials. No, they just want to make sure all the boxes are checked. Got to have, what is it you do in an elevator pitch, very concisely laid out. I help speakers, authors, CEOs get on television, guaranteed. That's what I provide, is my boom. This is what I do. Oh, wow. Well, if I'm interested, I'll proceed. They know exactly what I'm going to talk about. My 3 levels of talking, what I address, my 3 topics, boom, all of my logos of television interviews that I've been on. Boom. You would also say for yourself, you've been covered on your local newspaper. You write an article in the publication in Roswell, Georgia. Oh, that's great. Because then if you're going to submit to Forbes as a contributor, potential contributor, they're going to see, oh my gosh, you've been on TV. You have a completed profile on LinkedIn. You're a serious business person, not somebody who uses the default banner on LinkedIn. Total credibility crush. Fill it out. You have a YouTube channel, which proves that you are an expert and that talk about your level of expertise. Doesn't have to have 1 million subscriber or follow, subscribers on YouTube. Not necessary, but you have to have at least a dozen videos, well constructed. Don't have crap, have quality. Quality trumps quantity today. Really does. Quality. And then I would say you've gotten the ball rolling. Then I would get guest experiences on podcasts. It further proves your level of expertise. So if you show this picture, media is going to welcome you. It all works together. They're not independent. If they look at the total picture, if you are looking for writing opportunities, because here's what writing or getting an article, like when I was published in the Wall Street Journal, I got all sorts of calls. This was 20 plus years ago, but I can use that branding forever. That logo is there forever. And it was a written interview some years ago, unrelated, but I was interviewed by the Wall Street Journal. It's very valuable. Hope that answers your question, at least
absolutely.
With one person, Vicki. I mean, it depends. And if somebody who's 30 years old, I would say still LinkedIn, still YouTube, then I would push heavily on Instagram. I would say the emphasis. Yeah, I think the emphasis would be there.
Oh. So you covered in some of the things that I was going to ask. So that's a great thing.
Okay.
That's awesome. So you talked about the media appearance, boosting your credibility and visibility. Absolutely. You touched on the whole piece of building relationships with journalists and media professionals. But if you as maybe you aren't just starting out, maybe you're kind of been around for a little bit and you want to reignite your visibility, your career. How would you go about that?
Well, one thing I would advise to anybody in any business, never stop with publicity. Never. You don't take your foot off the gas pedal, because your competitors are always nipping at your behind, and don't give them the opportunity to bite your butt. So never turn off the publicity faucet. Keep that running, and they'll always be playing catch up. So that's number one. Don't ever turn it off. If you have chosen to turn it off, or for whatever reason haven't been able to do it, you got so busy handling the avalanche of clients, that's one thing. We don't ever stop marketing. And if you haven't done anything in a while, freshen up your press. Talk about a current topic. Piggyback on a trend. AI is everywhere today. How are you incorporating AI in your marketing? And ChatGPT, I produced the very first worldwide events on that, 4 of them in the US, big ones, until everybody polluted the category or got involved that watered down the category. But I had tremendous success creating events here in Las Vegas on that topic because it was so hot.
Yeah.
Piggyback, put a wrapping paper of AI on your product or service. You might garner a lot more press, and opportunities will open up. Embrace a media calendar where, Vicki, I'll send you my media calendar that I use for my clients so your listeners can benefit from this. I'll provide that as well for people. And there are different months in the calendar. Well, there are 12 months, and a list of different events that you can use to wrap yourself in and around. There is back to school. There are holiday themes. There's Black History Month. There is April Fools. And don't be a fool by missing out on blah, blah, blah. Piggyback, use some humor in a non-confrontive way, in a non-offensive way, to garner the attention of the recipient who's evaluating whether or not you can get on TV or not, get on a radio show or not. Be interesting. The other thing is become an author. Become an author, because if you don't have a book and you are a professional and your competitor does, who do you think is going to get the press? You or her? She will.
Absolutely, yeah.
She's going to kick your butt because she took the extra step, the necessary step to differentiate herself, because it's your digital/print footprint or thumbprint in the marketplace. And easier, not easy, easier to get you booked in the media if you have a book. Higher credibility.
Absolutely. It is, we could, as we said earlier, talk for days and days and days, but time has flown by, and I do need to share your contact information. So
Sure.
Let me do so right now. So for those that are just listening, you know, I always read the information. The website is mitchcarson.com. On LinkedIn, it is Mitch Carson Instant Celebrity. Instagram is Mitch Carson Official. And YouTube is at Mitch Carson Official, initial cap that. So if you want to learn more, I'm going to turn it over now to Mitch to talk to you about what he has out on that website, as well as some other items.
Yeah, if you're interested in getting on network television, guaranteed, here's my website, getinterviewedguaranteed.com/meet with Mitch. You'll see it in the reference section that, as Vicki explained. What I do in this interview is discuss with you your media plan. What are you doing to publicize yourself? It may or may not make sense to leverage television in your career. I'm not for everybody. I'm for the serious who want to then use this as a tool to then get booked in their local market, international markets, which is also great. That's another conversation of how valuable it is to have press overseas, and to feel like you're important. Because what happens with most of my clients who've never been on TV before, they experience something which is life-changing. Their confidence boosts because now they own that uniqueness. They own the belief that they are, in fact, the expert, or at least one of the experts in their category. The confidence boost is 100% guaranteed. No one has left my program without feeling better about themselves and knowing that the income potential only is limited by what exists between their right ear and left ear.
Awesome. So Mitch, thank you so much for being an awesome guest. And
Thank
as
you.
always, I remind everyone that life is a journey, and it's up to you to enjoy the ride. This is Vicki Noethling signing off.
Thank you for tuning into the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast with Vicki Noethling, where we share impactful lessons that help you grow as an individual, grow your confidence, and find the positive and good within you so you powerfully and authentically become the best version of yourself. Remember to visit our website at www.findyourleadershipconfidence.com and enjoy even more great episodes like this one. Again, while you're here, subscribe to us via your favorite network. We look forward to seeing you next time on the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast.